The Catholic Church has spent millions of dollars lobbying against the efforts to hold their own clergy members liable for molesting children. You know, I look at this. I look at this story. Every day you go to the newspaper when you see another molestation story, and you hear this same thing. Oh, we feel terrible about this as the Catholic Church. We apologize. We're trying to turn a new leaf on this. We're so sorry. While they're saying that, they're spending $5, $6, $7 million state by state trying to make sure that the statute of limitations doesn't change so their old priests can't be held responsible for going after little boys. I mean, that's the Catholic Church. That is this crazy culture, this cult-like thing that we call the Catholic Church nowadays. We accept as a church, it's a cult.
Yeah.
But that's the dichotomy here, isn't it?
Well, you know, I actually would describe it more as a modern-day corporation, because their public face is saying, oh, listen, we don't want anybody to be harmed. We're absolutely going to take the right steps. We're going to make this right for the people who are harmed. And then, of course, behind closed doors, you know, with their checkbooks, they're sitting there funding and lobbying to say, hey, all those rules we've broken, let's not change them. Let's not make it worse for us. We're still going to tell the public we're trying to help and make things better. But just like a corporation will do, they're still sitting there saying, hey, we got to get rid of these regulations. We don't ever want to be held accountable. And that's what they're doing, because right now you have these states, they want to change the statute of limitation from 23 all the way to 55. So suddenly you open up a huge
area. New York, great example.
Yeah.
They did that in New York. The clergy, the Catholic Church, money came directly from Rome, by the way. You know, those palaces that they have in Rome built with the gold and the marble, and you would think God lived there, you know. But the point is the money came from them directly to New York to beat back this statute that would have extended the right of a person to sue on behalf of a child who's been raped, who's been sodomized and raped by a Catholic cult priest. And now you tell me, you know, how that can be a bad thing to open the door. Let's open the door. And when I hear them say, oh, we just feel so terrible, this is just awful, we apologize. If you look at the number, it's startling. I mean, some of the numbers on here, if you just take a look at who's doing all this, about 150 priests were responsible for raping 3,000 children. Okay, that's the numbers that come out here. Now, so we say, and then you start asking the question, where does all this come from? Where did we get this idea that a priest shouldn't be able to marry? There's not a word in the Bible anywhere, New Testament, Old Testament, says anything about a priest not being able to be married. Paul, you know, one of the Apostle Paul says, yeah, maybe I'm not married and I get a lot done, but nobody says, hey, go to the top of a mountain, dress up in a damn Franciscan robe, drink beer, plant a garden, and diddle kids in the afternoon. That's the kind of that's my take on this as I look at it. This makes me furious. Farron, thanks for joining me. We'll follow this topic. It's going to continue.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The Church of Scientology is again embroiled in legal troubles after a former member files a lawsuit in Los Angeles alleging that the church's aggressive recruitment and retainment practices violate California human trafficking laws. What's more, the unnamed plaintiff is seeking compensatory damages and unpaid wages from the church and its leader, David McCavish. Legal journalist Molly Barrows has followed this in the past. We're going to talk about it right now. This is a case, as we've talked about before we came here, that it's a case I was asked to actually get involved with in St. Petersburg, Florida. Sarasota, St. Petersburg, Florida, of all places,
right,
is like a big bastion for the Scientologist cult.
I've heard.
Yeah. So tell me about this case.
Well, this is an interesting lawsuit. It's been filed by a former Scientologist. Her name is Valerie Haney. Now, according to the lawsuit, she's been named as Jane Doe, but her attorney has confirmed that that's who she is. And she said she was born in the Church of Scientology, raised in the Church of Scientology, and at the age of 15, she was basically appointed to become the personal steward for the spiritual head of the Church of Scientology, David Miscavige. So at that point, she was at a place called Gold Base, which is their unofficial, I guess, international headquarters in California. And it was there as his steward that she also developed a relationship with his wife, Shelley, who at the time was 26. I think this was in mid-2000s. So at any rate, she said that that was when David began to have a falling out with his wife. He began to talk harshly to her, according to the lawsuit. Various other indications that there were problems in their relationship. And she said that for that reason, she was isolated into a place called The Hole, which is a place where they send leaders or other members of the church who basically need to be isolated and are punished. It's a way of punishing them.
Re-indoctrinated is what they try to say.
Yes.
Yeah, people...
To isolate her from Shelley because she was being moved out of his life.
Right. The case that down in St. Petersburg we were talking about this one was held prisoner. I mean, she literally was held prisoner. More importantly, what I love about this lawsuit is for us to get a look at how crazy this cult actually is. You know, L. Ron Hubbard. There was no question when L. Ron Hubbard put all this together, it was very clear that he saw this was a money cash cow.
Absolutely.
It was all about a cash cow.
Author of science fiction.
Exactly. And this author of science fiction creates this, it's nonsense. I mean,
a religion for tax purposes.
Exactly. We're going to get the IRS to let us have this cult. It's not a church, but it's a cult.
Absolutely.
They call it a church because they have to call it a church, but it's a cult. And so people here, you've got people being imprisoned according to the allegations here, human trafficked according to this, fraud of every kind, and we're just now paying attention to it. Why is that?
Slander and libel and intimidation techniques according to this lawsuit when you do speak out against the church or if you do try to separate yourself
Well, we're
from the
speaking
church.
out against them right now.
I know. Who knows? We may end up being followed, Pat.
Well, you know
I'm not
what?
sure.
It's almost good if they bring, when they bring a lawsuit.
They expose themselves.
They expose themselves. I would love the opportunity, frankly, to take the deposition of a few key people here. And I think the chances of them losing their IRS tax base, tax break here could go away. But tell me more about this.
Well, it's interesting. So basically in this lawsuit, it is bringing to light a lot of the allegations that you've heard from various documentaries and different things over the years. And she got out in 2016, 2017 because she said essentially after being in the church for decades, isolated and abused and exploited because of her knowledge of the relationship that deteriorated between David and Shelley, she eventually got out. She was assigned to...
She had to escape.
She escaped.
It literally was an escape.
Literally, because she was assigned to marketing the church.
Right.
And that had ended up, she developed a relationship with a photographer that she was working with on a promotional video. And this particular photographer helped her sneak out. She got into the trunk of this person's car and they drove her off the property. And then she started working with Leah Remini, who is also a former Scientologist, an actress who now does a program exposing what she says are these harmful practices of the Church of Scientology. So, of course, the Church of Scientology has come out against this and said that these are unfounded, that this particular member was promiscuous of all things.
Yeah, they always do. They've got so much money behind. Look, understand. These numbnuts.
They don't want to lose their dollar
these
signs.
numbnuts that follow this, they say, here, I'm going to give you everything. And that's the way L. Ron Hubbard built this. Is you come into my cult, and we want to take your jewelry, we want to take your savings, we want to take your pension program, all for the furtherance of our Church of Scientology.
You pay for different levels of knowledge.
And then, of course, recruit somebody like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise on the screen, he sounds like he's, he sounds like he's all there.
Not all
but
there.
when you look behind the story and you see that, you see what this church is all about, and he's not just a member. He's way, way up in their pecking order of discovery, whatever.
It's a sad situation to me because I have seen interviews with Tom Cruise and he just sounds like he's been brainwashed.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole concept, the way they recruit and once people are in the folds, it's just mind control.
Okay, this case has potential to bust it open.
Well, it's interesting because this lawyer for Haney says that it's just a matter of time before more suits are coming, that they see more and more people filing similar type lawsuits against the church for this very reason, because they are going after them for basically kidnapping and holding people against their will and then damaging their reputations by going after them so personally.
Yeah. We're going to go after them for human trafficking. It's just a matter of time.
Yes, thanks.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, okay?
Yes.
Let's follow up on this story, too.
Absolutely.